We're here today to talk about what it's like to be a mayor. And we've got an incredible panel here with former Mayor Barbara Bass, and we've got Don Warren, current mayor of City of Tyler, and James Wansley, current mayor of the City of White House. And we really are just going to learn a little bit more about what that role is and what it's not. So for people who've never attended a city council meeting, guys, or maybe followed local government closely, what is a mayor actually responsible for?
Well, I would say that the mayor sets the tone for the relationship between city government and the community.
Okay.
The mayor has the responsibility of engaging with the council, and encouraging staff, and working with the city manager, and just developing trust just within the community.
That's a really great answer. Would either of you like to expand on that?
I would add that obviously the mayor has a key role in setting the agenda, but the mayor also is going to be working with the council and working with the greater community, listening to them and really make an effort to make sure that our citizens are being represented by not only the mayor, but the council members.
Yeah, and in our charter, it even states that we're in charge of setting the vision of the city. And then, of course, if you're going to set the vision, you have to follow through with it. So you have to get engagement from the community. You have to get buy-in from staff. You have to create an environment that's positive so that you can hire the talent that's going to push your vision forward, so that you can recruit the volunteers. And Tyler and White House saying we have a huge volunteer base, and that's based off of the leadership. So if you've got strong, positive leadership, then you're going to have an environment that's conducive to hiring and retaining talent, and recruiting and retaining really excellent quality volunteers.
And I'd like to expand on that. You know, having employees and having a relationship with the employees and having a good morale to where they want to come to work, they love coming to work. You know, it's just so important that relationships, and I always talk about relationships, whether it's people out in the community or with your counselor or with your staff. You can't come in mad. You can't come in angry. You got to come in and just with a lot of respect and integrity, and just enjoy the people you work with.
It sounds like it's important to listen. It sounds like it's a role that
Very much.
receives a lot of feedback, and that if you're not listening, then maybe the things could get very confused and muddled really quickly. I think a lot of people think of a mayor as running the city, but in reality, how much of that role is, leadership, consensus building, vision setting versus what you guys discussed, but versus the day-to-day operations of the city?
Well, in this part of Texas, we choose to be a council manager form of government. There's two primary forms of city government. And the one is the person gets elected, and the next day they're sitting behind the desk at the city, literally running the city, whether they've got experience or not. Many years ago, Tyler chose a different form, which is council manager. So the mayor and the council get elected. Then we hire a professional who knows what he or she is doing to handle the day-to-day operations, and that's our city manager. And it's a great model because we're all there as volunteers. We're representing the mayor, the whole citywide community, the council members, specific districts in our community. And we all have day jobs. This is not meant to be a full-time job. It's not meant to be something that you do because you want to have a retirement plan. You're there because you really need to have a heart that is greater than you for this community.
I think that's a great answer.
And I've worked with our city manager since 2015, and we hired him when I was on council, and he's fabulous. But he knows who to go to. And when I have a question, if other council members have a question, Ed, our city manager, he's the go-to guy. I mean, he has access to the engineers. He has access to the people in Tyler Water Utilities. He has access to the people that know what they're doing. Our job's to actually work with the city manager, and he's the one that runs the city.
Okay.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, as a council, we have one employee. You got the city manager. And then their direct reports are who is under them: the chief of police, the chief of fire, maintenance, operations, everybody under there, IT. It all goes through them. And your lane is to engage with the community and make sure that you're representing your constituents when the decisions that you're pushing forward, it'll be the best decision to serve the city today, tomorrow, and in the future, with the very limited resources we have at hand, with the knowledge that you have at hand at the time to make that decision. So I think all of us probably spend a whole lot of our time asking people for things and thanking people for things that help move the city forward, whether that's their time, their talent, their treasure. All of that stuff means so much when you can get an exponential return on the taxes that people pay in by leveraging the people that are willing to help move the city forward by using the resources that they volunteer.
So you've each touched on this just a little bit, but a little bit of expansion. So what are some common misconceptions that people have about what a mayor can or cannot do?
Well, I'll start. Yeah. One of the things that this the mayor has one vote,
Okay.
and each, I mean, every council member has a vote, and so I'm 1/7 of the votes, and so if I go in and I've got something that I want to have passed, or something that I believe in, I'm still just one vote. And so it's something that people need to realize that just because you're mayor at large doesn't give you more votes than anybody else. We're all equal voting people.
Yes, I would certainly echo that. People have a misconception that we're there all the time. And as I mentioned earlier, that we have a paid job. Some communities do have a stipend for their mayor and council. Ours does not. So if you're running for office in Tyler, Texas, you need to be there for the right reason. You need to make sure that you can afford the time away from your business. I got elected in a bad economy, so it wasn't like my business was growing tremendously during that time. We were all just trying to hang on. But still, you're going to have to balance that with the rest of what's going on in your life. Mm-hmm. And when you make that commitment, you need to make sure it's a solid commitment, because you are committing not just to be there, but you're committing time away from your family, time away from some fun things that you might want to go do with friends. So like I say, you just need to be there for the right reason.
Yeah.
So do you have a paying job, Mayor Bass?
Nowadays, I'm mostly working for a lot of volunteer organizations.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't have much of a paying job either. And being mayor, you don't get paid.
When I was mayor, I was in the CPA business working 60, 70 hours a week in tax seasons and everything else, and when you own a company, you show up. I had a lot of employees responsible for making sure I took care of my end so they had a job. So it was definitely a balancing act. And I kind of laugh when people talk about, well, he or she doesn't have time. I just feel like God gives us the capacity that if he calls us to be involved and to lead, we make the time. Mm-hmm. Our time just seems to expand, and people go, how do you do that? How did you do that? And I just have to tell them, well, at the time, I did what was in front of me. Mm-hmm. I got up every day and thank God for the energy, and just try not to mess it up too much after that, but really just put everything I could into the commitment I made.
It's funny when I go to if my wife says we go get a loaf of bread at the store, well, 45 minutes later I get home. She goes, what took you so long? It's so funny the number of people that are in the grocery store that start asking you questions.
Sure.
And you got to stop and talk to them. I mean, you can't just bypass them. And it's always enjoyable, but we connect with our citizens.
It's the relationship piece you were talking about earlier, how
Yes.
important it is.
Yeah, and those conversations reveal something pretty obvious, is that people confuse our role as an elected official with the city with other roles that are higher up at the state or the federal level that have enumerated powers that we don't have. I can't veto something. Like Mayor Warren said, we have one vote. In White House, I don't have any vote. We got 5 council members and a mayor, and I only vote in the case of a tie, which I've only done twice. It doesn't come up very often. You have to have a council member missing and a split decision on the group. So you should enjoy your vote that you get. But yeah, when it comes to getting things through that we really want done, you have to use the permission-based model of leadership. If you assume that you getting elected as mayor gives you a position of power to be able to push your agenda through, you're gonna be very disappointed, and it's gonna wind up being a pretty bad environment.
So, kind of related to that, how would you say that the mayor influences the direction? How do you have influence?
Well, and I think Mayor Wansley started when, the mayor, like the downtown project. I love downtown. I've been pushing for it for years. I know for decades people have talked about the downtown revitalization, and it's occurring. And when we voted on it as a council, it was a unanimous vote. And it's not that the council's back behind closed doors talking about it, but when we're out there in the open and we're discussing it in a public meeting, everybody believes in what we're doing. Everybody believes in the desire to have walkability and connectivity and having a place where people can go enjoy their families. It's when you're mayor, you do try to create some buy-in to your vision, but you want your vision to be everyone's vision at the end of the day.
I think you need input, obviously, from everyone. When I was mayor, we had some meetings where we didn't get consensus. We had majority, but we didn't have consensus. And that's good. Because one of the things I stressed was not so much that we had to have consensus, but that we respected each other's right to vote and their decision when they voted for their district. And hopefully that was for their area of Tyler, their district, and rather than just a personal agenda. Because it's very important that we take all of the information that we receive. If we have questions on any agenda item or we've not gotten enough information through the meetings in the community or whatever, then we need to be responsible, whether it's the mayor or whether it's a council member. We need to be responsible for getting the rest of the information so that when we walk in that council, we're there to do business. We're there to do what we were all elected to do.
To serve.
To serve, yes, to serve.
And it takes more time. You're moving at the speed of government. Government that's acting the right way, like she described, requires time. So our city center that we just opened in White House, we gavelled the purchase of that property in April of 2021. And we finally did our grand opening in November of 2025 because it took that long to hold the meetings to figure out what the community wanted to use that building for, what those spaces were for, what community partners we can bring in to help make it the best possible use of that space. And then the designs. The designs came in, the bidding process, the building process, choosing to rehabilitate an old building instead of tearing it down and building something new. All that stuff took time, but in the end you have something that everybody that was a part of it is really proud of, and the people that are experiencing it now are really happy to have it in their city. You see projects like that all over Tyler with the stuff they're doing at the old fairgrounds, where they've repurposed. They built their event space over there, which has been huge. It's used around the clock. I don't think you can go over there and not see somebody using it. You got to have a vision to say, I think if we build this thing right, the community will use it all the time. They'll get a lot out of it. And that's been proven by the work that they did there too.
Yeah, and that's something that we need to look at long term also, because it's not always one mayor. In fact, that W.T. Brookshire project, we went through a lot of iterations and reiterations, and by the time we finally got to groundbreaking, we were on the fourth mayor from when we started that.
Oh, wow.
So we were 20 years down the road plus, and it's a process, because you've got to continue to refine the process, refine the project as you listen to the community and you listen to what the needs are, so that when you get down to that first shovel of dirt, it represents a process that represents the greater community, that should have the greater benefit for the community, and just something that is never taken lightly. It's not a knee-jerk reaction to make decisions.
Right. I think I sat in on the city council meeting actually when that project got approved. I volunteered downtown with Heart of Tyler for 7 years.
There you go.
Served on that
Great
board.
organization.
So I am very aware of the work that you've done downtown and know how long that's been. I mean, it goes back to Tyler 21, which was 20 years ago, right? Whenever
It was
that.
back
Yes.
when I was mayor, which
Yes.
I've termed out 12 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when we opened up the conference center,
Yes.
we had, I think, 4 or 5 mayors there
Yeah.
Yeah.
that represent the decades
Right.
that it's
Yeah.
been talked about.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for that, because it is benefiting our community so much. For the average citizen, though, why should they care who their mayor is. And if the role is more relationship and strategic than operational, like what is their buy-in? Why do they need to engage with like a mayoral election and have better voter turnout?
If you want to get the most out of what you pay into your taxes, if you want to get the most out of what your city has as far as potential, then you need to have a mayor that is a strong, positive leader. You need somebody that's going to welcome the community in and bring in the volunteers and create a positive work culture so that you can hire the best talent. Your city manager is a CEO of the same caliber as a company that would operate at the same budget that the city does. The staff, their direct reports are executives, but they're going to make less. It takes a special person to work for the city. You have to be willing to have that much potential earning that you're sacrificing to work for a city that's under constant scrutiny by the public. And you're constantly working for people that are amateurs. Like nobody on council is a professional council person or a professional mayor. Everybody that's mayor is doing it for the first time. Everybody that's on council is probably doing it for the first time. I don't think anybody rests and comes back. So it takes a very special, confident, capable person to want to step into that role with a cut in earning potential and serve their city. So it's our duty to make sure that they have the most open and positive and conducive environment for realizing their potential in their roles.
And I also think that part of our role, instead of using the word relationships, is a connector. And when I ran in 2020, my slogan was for all of Tyler. And all three of us, we're all over our communities, north, south, east, west, and we're attending events, ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, and it's for every part of the community because we care about every part of the community. And so one of the reasons why it matters so much about who your mayor is, you got to have a mayor that cares about everyone, period.
You've got to have a mayor that doesn't have a hidden agenda. I mentioned being there for the right reason. They need to have a heart for our city. They need to have a heart for the people who live here, because we're representing the entire city. We have council members who represent specific areas, but as the mayor, you are representing the whole city. So you need to be listening to all of that. You know, we couldn't have everybody showing up every month and trying to talk to the city manager and say, do this, do that. We'd never have a consensus. But working together when we're elected, if we're there and we have the heart for service and we really care about our community, then we're going to be trying to represent the folks that elected us to our just ultimate ability.
Well, what would you say to someone who believes that local elections don't really impact daily life? We've talked a lot about future building and long-term planning, but daily life, how?
I would say who you elect locally impacts your life more so than anybody at the state or federal level, for sure. The roads that you drive on, the utilities that you use, the schools that your kids go to, the facilities that are available in your neighborhoods, all of those things are made possible by the staff that operates under your elected officials. They're the most approachable. We're easy to find. You can reach out and talk to us, and if you have a concern, we'll represent you. It's hard to do at the state level. It's almost impossible to do for a state or like a federal senator. So it makes a huge difference who represents you, making sure that they have like the mindset and the vision that you want to see your city reach.
Yeah, we're as grassroots as you get, you know, the city government, the county government, because we're representing you, but we're staying home and representing you. So we're going to see you at the ball field when your kids are playing and ours are playing with yours, or we're going to see you at church on Sunday or wherever, in the grocery store when we have a 15-minute errand that takes an hour. We're going to be there because we're one of you, and you've chosen us to lead. So it's important to get educated. It's important to know the roles. You know, we're effectively like the chairman of a board, making sure the policies are set that make things work, making sure the city manager is doing his or her job. So we've got the role of oversight. And from a community standpoint, we're your representative, making sure things are done making sure we listen to what you are saying to us and hearing what needs to be done in the community. So if we're doing our job right, it's going to make a difference. And I see things that happened when I was mayor, policies we put into place, or uh, different projects that went through council that we approved that are still being implemented, are still happening because we have a long-term vision.
Mhm.
And you want that in the city. You don't want a group that comes in and every time the new group comes in, they just totally throw out all the things that were happening and start all over again. You want that continuity. We have that in Tyler, and in White House, I've seen that.
And we do a lot with local control. We want to maintain local control. And we have challenges from our state officials when it comes to annexation, when it comes to a number of different policies and different things that it's impacting our communities. And so that's another reason why, voting for mayor and being involved with local government is so important. I mean, if we want to grow our tax base, but you can't annex more property, you have to find a different way to do it. If the government's going to say you can't go up above your a certain tax rate, you're frozen. You got people talking about we're going to go ahead and just cut property tax 100%. Well, if you're going to cut property tax 100%, who's going to pay for your police and your fire? Public safety in the city of Tyler and the city of White House is number one priority, and someone at your local level has got to fight to make sure somebody doesn't take that away.
And we're doing good. Tyler's the number 2 city.
In the state.
That's right. Number 2 place to live, right? Number 2 city to live.
That's right.
And White House is the 6th safest city in Texas when it comes to property crime, violent crime, just in general. So right here in Smith County, you got number 2 in one category, you got number 6 in one category. So we're doing pretty good
Yeah.
as far as that goes. So when you hear people, kind of stomping their foot and saying it's so broken, it just, I need to go turn the apple cart completely over and turn everything upside down. You can. I mean, you can do that. It will likely be rebuilt in a different way, but probably not in a better way. I think it's important to be mindful of the work that's been put in place to help us get to where we are, to step back and evaluate what we've achieved as cities. If you moved out of the Tyler area in the year 2000 and then you moved back, you wouldn't believe like what has come to Tyler. And that's experiences, outdoor amenities. There's nowhere in Tyler you can drive that doesn't have a beautiful park now, a beautiful outdoor space. We've got skate parks. There's things that we never thought we would have in this area that now we can experience. And that's because even with a really low property tax rate, Tyler's been able to pull through and find ways to do that. And even with a very small amount of full-time employees, White House has 54 full-time employees. We have 20 on the fire department alone, and then we got police officers enough to cover shifts. Like with a super low property tax rate, with a super low number of full-time employees, still getting a lot of stuff done that's bringing a lot of value to our citizens.
So when difficult issues divide a community, because we know that those happen from time to time, what role do you see the mayor playing in helping to unify and bring people together?
Well, I was first elected in November of 2020, and that was during COVID. And so as soon as I was elected, we had meetings daily with Chief Coble, Chief Toller, and it was the Emergency Operations Center, the EOC. And we met every day and discussed what was going on with COVID. And then we would do interviews with the TV stations in the afternoons and give people updates and make people calm their nerves. When we had Winter Storm Uri, and which was a tragic event, and we had no deaths. You had the straight line winds following that. There was catastrophic, no deaths. But our police and our fire and our EMS and our hospitals and everybody reached out to help the community. During Winter Storm Uri, there were nursing homes that had no power. And we had companies here in Tyler that took generators to the nursing homes so they would have heat. So when there are times of uncertainty or times of circumstances, the community pulls together and makes a disaster turn into something where it's the philosophy of love thy neighbor, and it works.
But that's when you have that unifying person in that role, right? Like you're saying,
Yes.
and that you're building connections and relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Like I that was the kind of a delayed term. You take it in November is usually later because COVID kind of delayed things. But I took my role in that same November, and I say, you know, I came into my term during COVID hell, and then hell froze over with the Winter Storm Uri. It was kind of that. But I got a little bit of experience in dispatch communications, so built up a dispatch center, called on the volunteer base that I had gotten to know through my time on Parks and Rec and on council. And at the end of that day, looked in that room, and it was just full of people that were willing to drive in those conditions to deliver water to people that needed it, and to turn off their water main and turn off their water heater so it wouldn't burn up. And I mean, that wound up being a blessing for me early in my time as mayor, because I had my volunteer base. Like, I knew who would show up. They did. These people, they wound up serving on Parks and Rec and on Planning and Zoning and later on council. It's great if you can operate that way, to reach out to the community and find the people that are willing to do the work. And that's the success that each one of these mayors has had too, was willing to go out and say, hey, I need help. Who can help me? And having volunteers step up and help them whatever they needed.
You had a couple of hurricanes roll through.
I had 3 hurricanes.
Yeah.
I had just gotten elected in May, and come the end of August and into September, I had folks coming in from,
Louisiana.
well, Louisiana, but more Port Arthur area. That was assigned, they were assigned to come here if they weren't able to get anywhere on their own particularly. So we had bus loads of folks coming in, and we're putting them everywhere we could. We had churches that just generously opened up their fellowship halls, their gyms, whatever. We had the Red Cross out there. We had, virtually every organization that dealt with folks in disaster relief and disaster recovery. And even took an old Walmart store in that when they closed it, they had just shut the doors and left shelves, and the dust was about 4 inches thick. And we were bringing folks in and putting them anywhere we could, and the volunteers were bringing food. I mean, folks' hearts were just open. So it was definitely a challenge. It was definitely an immediate learning curve. We were doing 3 a days with the media starting out, and then finally were able to cut down to 2 a days. And I know Labor Day weekend in a emergency operations center, and then a lot of time after that. But you rise to the occasion. You call on the people who have the abilities, who have the resources, whether it's the gift of time and the ability to help there, the gift of opening up their kitchen and fixing sandwiches, whatever that gift is, or just the pure monetary resources, and you react. You've got people in need, people that are hurting, and we just open our hearts. So being in front of that and leading the message of what's being done and how we're helping folks that are just hurting, who've lost their homes, and in some cases family members. It's something you just need to step up and do. There's not a good way to handle it, but just step up there and start working. Just roll your sleeves up and get in the middle of it. So our communities back us when we do that, because we are a giving, loving community, and the results just speak for themselves because we do care for people and we're all there to serve.
And when you're the mayor, you're the buck stops with you as far as elected officials. Like, it's on you. And that doesn't build character, it reveals it. So what Mayor Bass was talking about was who she is. What Don was talking about during his time is who he is. I didn't know it, but it turns out that's who I am. I would have never known that I'd have responded that way. So you want somebody in that position whose character is unquestionable. When the time comes, when the storms come, when the shear lines come, when the freeze comes, are they going to respond? Or are they going to act as a person of character? Because that's when you really find out who they are.
Those are great answers. We've talked a lot about leadership and vision. you guys have mentioned a couple of times setting the agenda and about hidden agendas, but what does it mean for a mayor to help shape the agenda, like you're talking about, with some consensus and some buy-in? What does setting the agenda mean in city government?
In my case, I inherited a strategic plan, which initially we called Tyler 21, then we later called it Tyler First. You know, we want to be first at everything. But I inherited that plan. So my setting the agenda or strategically developing it was focused on what we had heard from the community. Because we spent 18 months, 2 years, really delving into having meetings and listening to the community on different parts of what we needed to do. So it was in a bad economy, but it was something that I needed to do to really bring that plan that we had developed into fruition. We started looking at what we could do. We engaged the community. It was all about answering the call to what had been asked of the mayor and the council and the city itself, the city employees, for what the community was wanting to see Tyler look like in the next 5-10 years. So as far as the strategic part, that's where we went. But from the agenda itself, you're looking at what's happening, all the contracts. It's business for the most part. The greater part and the fun part is when you're looking at the future and bringing in all the projects and things that will really push the needle to making your community greater down the road, even if there's a little pain in investment currently.
And I love how you mentioned Tyler First, because that 20-year period's up.
Yeah.
And we just developed and completed Tyler Tomorrow, which is the comprehensive plan for the next 20 years. And so what was done under her tenure included a big section about downtown, included a big section about our parks. And the new Tyler Tomorrow doesn't have that big section about downtown because it's being done. It doesn't have that big section about the parks. It's being done. But it has sections more about what kind of housing do people want in Tyler. Do people want to have retail on the first floor and apartment lofts on the second floor? It goes into the next 20 years. But once again, this document was prepared not by the council. It was prepared by staff, but also by consumers. We had so many open houses so people out in the community could say, this is what we want for the city of Tyler, Texas. So their input created this new comprehensive plan.
And that's important for staff because, you know, you got to have a comprehensive plan for the big zoom out. Where are we going? You know, the long trip. You need your strategic plan so that the staff knows what's important for them, their priorities and what they should be working on. Having a communication plan for them is important. So every agenda that we have that comes through the City of White House, our council agenda, every agenda item points to a strategic initiative. And that's what we require. Like if it's going to be on the agenda, where does it fit in our strategic plan? That helps. That helps the city staff a lot. Our city staff have daily stand-up meetings where they talk about what they're executing that day, how it helps the agenda, where it goes for the long-term plan. That generates in a newsletter that goes out every week where the citizens know what the city worked on that week and how they executed on that plan. There's an internal communication as well for stuff that's not for public consumption that comes to us. But it helps with transparency, like having a roadmap, having a comprehensive plan with buy-in from the community, having a strategic plan at the executive level. In the end, that it all just results in transparency, which it makes our job easier when things happen transparently, and it makes our citizens give more trust into us. So when it comes time to do hard things, they trust us to do those hard things.
A big part of that is also the budget, because it really makes sure that your budget is aligned with your vision and your strategic plan. So you don't go off on some tangent and do something that the community is not wanting, is not asked for. You do what has been thoughtfully requested by the community from their input like 20 years ago, and then we finally are now doing the downtown. And make sure that their dollars are spent where they've asked you to spend them.
I've been wanting a community pool in White House for 7 years, and I got close a couple of years, but I'm of the 30% that wants it. So it's not something that we could do. And I'd be pushing sand uphill to try to get that to happen, right?
But it's good to know that.
It is good to know that, right? It's good to know that I'm crazy.
Well, and that there are things that a mayor may want that don't actually happen because
That's right.
that's not what the public currently wants.
Yeah,
Right.
one day I'll get sidewalks on my street. One day I'll get a community pool, but those things haven't happened yet. So I think it's important to understand that even when it's highly personal things, it's really not a hill that I'm willing to die on to get it to happen. You have to do what's best for the city. And if what I want is not the current consensus priority, then it's not what happens. And for most people, that's pretty obvious.
You've talked a lot about public input. You mentioned open houses and you mentioned reaching out with the newsletters. But what are some ways that people can have an ongoing way to engage and offer input that they may not be aware of with their local city government?
Well, obviously, they can come to city council. They can look at the agendas online. If they're interested, they can talk to their council member or the mayor. They can look at in Tyler, we have a TV station that they can look at after a council member's happened or after a planning and zoning has happened, so they can track an item that they might be interested in. So there are a lot of different ways they can engage. Every year, the city has a time that they ask citizens to apply to be on different boards and committees. So if a person wants to give their time that way, watch for the news and put their application in. So there's just a lot of different ways that they can get engaged. And obviously in Tyler, it's not just all at City Hall, because we have numerous other ways in the communities or in our community that you can volunteer. So at any level, you're making an impact, whether you're doing Little League coaching for a ball team or whether you're involved in a business organization, all of those make our community better and stronger. And your gift of time and your investment of your knowledge and desire to help improve any organization is going to make an impact and really just improve the greater community.
And there are a lot of boards and commissions. And I started out in planning and zoning and loved it. And I see other people that are going through planning and zoning. Another one we have is Keep Tyler Beautiful, very popular board. The Parks Board is a very popular board. I mean, there's a number of different boards, and people love getting on there. And a lot of times people get on planning and zoning, they follow that up with council, and there's just a natural progression. We also have an app, Tyler Talks, and you can get on that app, and if you have a pothole, you can say, you can report a pothole, or when's my trash going to come? And so there's different ways that you can keep up with what's going on in the community besides just getting somebody on the telephone.
Firsthand, Mandy, what board did you serve on in Tyler?
I served on the Downtown Revitalization Board. I joined that board in 2011. So what I'm seeing downtown is very meaningful to me because I've seen the transformation. I moved here in 2005, began working downtown in 2006, joined that board in 2011. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of retail around the square. I mean, the transformation of the two buildings on, is it College? People's Petroleum Building and Plaza Tower, the transformation that those buildings have undergone in the last 10 years is incredibly remarkable.
It's remarkable. The People's Petroleum Building,
Yeah.
when they bought that,
It was in terrible shape.
12% occupancy.
Yeah.
Plaza Building, 56% occupancy. Now they're full.
I know.
Yeah.
And what's happening in White House and Tyler now, the difference is I would drive my kids around and I would say, oh, look, this is coming. And they're like, yeah, whatever. But when I drive by what is happening downtown or the potential, they're starting to see what Parkside is going to look like. My daughters, they're 20 and 24 years old. They're excited about it. Like I feel like that Tyler and White House, we don't have a whole lot that is targeting kind of that demographic. Like we want to keep those young professionals here, those people that are in their early 20s, under 30 years old. We want to give them sticking points, to stay in the city. Like you don't have to drive to Dallas, we got that here. You don't have to drive to San Antonio, it's right here. Like you don't have to make your way over to Shreveport, we got that here. And it's just, it makes me so excited to see that stuff coming in now.
And I'm going to piggyback on that. When you talk about excited, there's so much going on all over the city. And there's so much momentum and so much progress. And this mayor's race that's coming up is pivotal. It's going to be important. And I'll just say it, do we want to keep the momentum and the progression forward and the excitement that Mayor Wansley talks about? Or are we going to take a step back and reevaluate? And I'm not going to compare the candidates at this point, but it's just important that everybody does their homework. And let's vote for the person that's going to make this city continue in the direction that we're going. I mean, we got 5 mayors, we had 5 or 6 mayors in a row that have believed in this city and have loved this city and have done so much for this city, including former Mayor Barbara Bass and myself. I do not want to see that stopped.
And that's another maybe misconception that people don't know. Like, as elected officials, everything we're doing in the city, we're building sandcastles, right? They're beautiful, but they're fragile. Not the actual capital projects we're doing, but the momentum. That momentum is something that can be knocked over pretty easily. It doesn't take much time. It takes 10 years, 20 years to build the type of momentum that we have in Smith County. It can be undone in a couple of years. You could run off the volunteers. You could chase off the talented professional staff. It can go away really quick. And I've seen cities nearby that have learned that lesson. You see a city like there used to be a city called Chapel Hill. Do you know that, right? It's gone. It's not even a city anymore. It's the only police they have is their school police. So we take it for granted. Like the momentum that we have here, we kind of take it for granted that it's going well. It's almost like when you're watching a football game that's playing really clean. There's no refs, right? So you don't realize that the refs are actually keeping it going. The elected officials are the refs. Just because the game is going really well doesn't mean they're not in the game, helping it progress. I don't know if that's a great analogy, but just to hammer on how fragile momentum and volunteer base and talented staff are.
Was there a moment where each of you realized a decision that you made would have consequences long after your term ended?
I think a lot of decisions I made, when we were looking at the availability of water 40, 50 years down the road, when we were looking at putting streets and roads in certain areas to open up for housing or development. The half-cent sales tax here can't be used directly for development, so the way the city impacts that is having new roads cutting through to help better connect the community. Earl Campbell Parkway, Grande Boulevard, the last part of it was opened after I was mayor. So you really see that there are things that will start in your administration when you're mayor, and it may take years for them to come to fruition. Or you may reap the benefits of opening Grande Road or Grande Boulevard that was planned many years before I was mayor. You've got to take care of the day-to-day operations. You've got to keep the doors open. But beyond that, you have to have the vision of looking beyond you and looking at what's going to help us have the quality of life we need in our community, what it's going to take to get good paying jobs with benefits, and to continue have new jobs, employers growing in this community so that the atmosphere is good not only for keeping and retaining our employers, but also bringing new employees in. And all of that is looking way beyond your administration. And if your heart is there and you're really looking at the needs of the people, then you need to be looking long term to make sure that you're not just a once and done and you're going to do more damage than good, because you need to have a positive vision and help build the plan to work that vision.
And I think that's kind of what you have to do as a mayor. You hope that what you're doing is a great outcome. You're pointed in the right direction. Your heart's in the right place. You have the knowledge and the backing and the support of the community. Like, let's do it. But when it works, it's great. But when it fails, it's important for us to take ownership of it. I tell my council, I was like, if something happens and it's great for the city, all glory goes to God. Anything left over goes to the city, right? If there's a little base left over, keep it for yourself. But the city staff are going to be there long after we're gone. We term out. They're the continuity. That city staff is why the Tyler Event Center was able to be built with those 5 mayors that came through there is because there was that continuity of the vision. You know, they handed off the baton, and the city staff is there to help understand and move things forward and kind of pick it up where it left off when that other mayor left.
Yeah.
You know, when Barbara talked about quality of life, in 2015 when we opened up the playground at Burfell Park, and then we did the amphitheater and then the splash pad, and then we go from that park to Hillside Park and Southside Park. And then around 2018, we realized we're going at a little faster pace than we had the funds to pay for this. So we did something pretty creative. We started what's called a tipping fee at the landfill. So anybody that uses the landfill that lives outside the city limits, they pay a fee. And that fee goes to the Parks Department. And it's in the high 6 figures annually. And that's what money goes to and pays for our park improvements. So now we've done over 16 parks since 2015. But it's the quality of life that the residents love. It's the quality of life that people that come in here that want to move their business here, start their business here. They love quality of life projects. They love our parks.
What should voters look for in someone who wants to lead a city into the future? What are those qualities that they need to identify that, you know, you've talked about vision, you've talked about looking towards the future, but what qualities in a person is someone looking for that they can go, they've got it, they can do it?
I would say look at their volunteer experience and how they've given in the past, how they've given of their time, how they've given of all of their resources. Look for organizations that they've led, boards they've been on, what they've been involved in. Look at what they bring to the table. You know, I have wonderful friends in the development community, but we don't need all developers on the board. We need some CPAs in there. We need attorneys in there. We need people from different backgrounds because we bring different skills and different mindsets and have other abilities that will benefit when we work together. So the leadership is real critical, but also their whole focus on getting things done, understanding that they're going to be the ambassador for the city, that they're going to be the top cheerleader for the city. But beyond all of that, they've still got to take care of the day-to-day business. And they need to make sure they've got the time and the commitment that they've got to heart for doing it. So.
I belong to a coffee group. We meet every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9. A lot of times when there's a candidate running for office, they'll stop by our coffee group. And we got some guys in our group that ask some questions.
Hard questions.
Hard questions. And it make people squirm. But your questions like, why do you want to run for this office? Do you have any agenda? What do you hope to gain out of it? Do you have any conflicts of interest? There's so many questions that get asked. And some of the questions or some of the answers are kind of a little bit iffy. So I think it's very important for people to do their homework and really dive in to the characteristics of the person, why the person's running for that office, what is their vision, not only for the 2-year term that you're mayor, but like Barbara's saying, 4 decades from here. What is it that you want to do to the city of Tyler that's going to impact the city of Tyler 20 years from now?
I think a demonstration of character is really important too, because like we said, when things get really hard, that character is going to be revealed. It's not going to be built. So, and that's where you really want somebody that's solid, is when things are going sideways in the city. I know when people were getting bussed in from Louisiana, that was a huge social issue. It wasn't just a logistical issue. So it took somebody with really strong character to make their way through that. And the same thing with Winter Storm Uri. You have people that are suffering, and you need to make sure that you're prioritizing the people with the most need, not the people that are the closest to you, or the people that would come out to you and ask you for stuff. It has to be prioritized that way. It's a test of character in several aspects.
You mentioned 2 years. Could y'all just educate me a little bit on term limits and what those terms
Yes.
look like?
In Tyler, you serve 2 years at a time
Mm-hmm.
and a maximum of 6.
Okay.
And each of those, you have the opportunity to have to be reelected. If you don't get an opponent, Tyler has used a state option that allows them to not have to
Campaign.
not have to go through all the cost
Mm-hmm.
of the election. But otherwise, they're 2-year terms and 6 years max. And even our boards and commissions are based on that same theory.
Okay.
You get on there and you can generally serve up to 6 years max.
I have so enjoyed this conversation, and I just want to tell you, each of you, thank you for your service. I don't know how often you hear that, but
Thank you.
I'm hearing your hearts, and I just want you to know how much I personally appreciate what you've done for your communities. To kind of close this conversation, though, I'd like to know, years from now, what do you hope people say was strengthened or improved because of your leadership and your service?
I think when folks look back on my time, they want to say that I served out of love for this community. I served because I wanted to make Tyler a better place so that folks would have better paying jobs with benefits, that we would have a better quality of life, and that in all of that, they were part of it because it was about all of us doing what was great for the community and working together to have long-term results so that we could leave Tyler a better place than we found it.
I totally agree with Barbara. When I had my farewell luncheon last week and all the employees get up and speak, I felt like I was at my own funeral. But the positive of that was you get to hear how people think.
Mm.
And I'm just like what Barbara's saying. I want to leave this place better than I found it.
Mm.
And when I go to functions, I'm a hugger. And I spend a lot more time hugging people than I do shaking hands. And so I have also lost some friends during this tenure, but the friends that I have developed and made are lifetime friends. And I enjoy the friendships, the relationships. So it's not necessarily much about the brick and mortar, but it's about that
connection and relationship.
connection.
Yeah.
It's always about the people.
Yeah, I would love it to be, a story like I'm sitting at a coffee shop that has like a walking trail going down, and I'm starting my morning out, and I see a young mom pushing a stroller, and realizing that that's a 29-year-old that was on my youth community council at one point. I'm like, it's just thinking about things like that where people are using the things that you help build and almost taking them for granted. Like, great, take it for granted. These things came before you. But also knowing that they have a heart for helping out as well. So knowing that you've positioned your city to be successful and you've instilled a spirit of volunteerism and compassion into the people that come after you, I think is super important. And cherry on top, if we build cities that our kids and grandkids want to live in because of the things we did, because of the amenities and the jobs and the things that we brought to the city, that's a huge testament to your legacy. And I think we've done that.
Any final thoughts? Go vote.
Go vote.
Definitely. Do your homework. Get engaged in the community and vote to keep Tyler moving forward. We've got a great community. Let's just keep it that way and grow it to an even greater community.
And I mean, we don't have a candidate in the runoff in White House, but all of Smith County, I think, is in a very special moment. We have mayors that are very approachable. I drop in on Fridays on that coffee group every once in a while. And Don, even though his city is 10 times bigger than mine, is super welcoming from me, from Bullard, from Lindale, Troop. It doesn't matter where the mayor or city manager is, just willing to help, willing to talk, willing to mentor on things that have worked well, willing to partner with people. White House has very strong partnerships through the city of Tyler. They're our secondary water source. They provide our IT services. Lake Tyler's in White House. So it's really important cohesively as a county to make sure that we keep the very special thing that we have in our county going by making sure that our leaders that come into place are leaders that are willing to work with the communities around them and keep moving in a positive direction. So that's really important. I hope Tyler sees its way into that direction for our sake.
Well, I appreciate each of you. I know you're all very busy people. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation, and I hope that our public is educated better on the role of a mayor. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are you a Tyler voter?
I am a Tyler
All right,
voter.
get it.